Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Tamara Mohammed, and I'm the Digital Marketing Coordinator of QRX. I'd like to thank you and welcome you for joining us in QRX and HP's webinar, as we'll be discussing several topics on digitization and service solutions. Once our webinar does conclude, there will be a feedback survey at the end, and it would be greatly appreciated and helpful if you could fill it out for us. As promised, all attendees will also receive an Uber Eats gift card to thank each and every one of you for joining us and spending time out of your busy days. Without further ado, I will pass this over to Denise Kennedy from HP to start this presentation.
Hi there. Just need sharing rights. Okay. And just want to make sure that everyone can see my screen.
Yep, it's coming through perfectly.
Okay. Is it the presentation, the presenter mode, or just the regular one?
Presenter mode.
Okay, let me just switch. I think I'm just going to pull off my camera. Great. Thank you so much for joining us today. I want to make sure that everybody can hear me. We also just want to welcome our panelists as well. I have Kevin that's from QRX on the line with me as well. So the two of us are going to be doing this presentation in conjunction. So he's going to be manning the Q&A area for me as well, just in case I don't see it, because of course it's hard to present and see that at the exact same time. So what we like to do is get through the presentation and then deal with the question and answer at the end, if that's okay. And with further ado, we're going to be talking about work from home today. And really, what does that look like in today's grand scheme of things? Again, my name's Denise Kennedy, and I'm one of the pre-sales technical consultants from HP Canada, and my territory is for Ontario. So when we look at today's marketplace, it is very different from that of 6 months ago. So of course, with that being said, many of the buying behaviors are very different from then to now. So we see really that there is a big shift in really what people are buying and what their main focus is right now. And many of the businesses today are really looking at having a workforce that is working from home. And with that being said, that workforce really comprises of many different things. Companies, really look at, how are they going to be able to, really look after those employees, and what do they really need to really be effective and efficient when working from home. Really, when you see their main concerns today and the shift is that of, security as well. Security is utmost important during this time. We've seen a 600% increase in hacking that has taken place, and it's primarily focused in the hotspots as to where actually COVID is occurring. So we have to really keep that in mind when devices are being placed in work from home type situations. So with that, now, what do we do? So we look at, companies and how they're buying and really what they're purchasing. Majority of the, in this grand scheme of things is with our situation, are printers. And what kind of printers? Well, smaller, more home office oriented printers. And one of the big top reasons why they're looking to, purchase a lot of these smaller printers is, again, to help employees be more efficient at home. So when you look at what you buy, you need something that's going to be fast and efficient and be able to really digitize documents with, you maybe never have thought about things like that before. Very hard to work with documents that are sitting on somebody's desk in your main office and try and, you know, work from home with that. So now people are starting to kind of shift and ensuring that rather than having a filing cabinet, now you're looking to have a digitized filing cabinet. And of course, you know, when you have these smaller devices, you know, not everybody is an expert at home, and really you need something that is easy to set up and really user-friendly. Things to consider though when you do have some of these smaller printers at home is that you have to also make sure that, you know, you have, if possible, two separate type of networks at home. One that's for your personal side of things, where your Alexa and your Ring Alexa doorbell might be connected on, and one that is again kind of segregated to your business area. You really don't want to mix the two, because should something happen, at least you're kind of self-containing where the issue potentially could lie. Many internet service providers are allowing actually people to deploy these multiple networks at home. And, you know, of course, there's also settings that you have to make sure that you have set up, like WPA3 on your, you know, your Wi-Fi networks. You know, making sure that you don't have just a default password, that you actually create passwords and put them on everything. Those are very, very important in this day and age. And of course, you know, potentially looking at, if you are, you know, somebody that deals with sensitive documents, that you have some sort of encryption in place. So why HP products? Well, QRX has a real plethora of devices, everything from the home office of ours all the way up to the larger 11 by 17 office type printers. So they do have quite a big selection. They are also an authorized dealer of us to sell the wide format devices as well. So they have quite a bit of selection. And of course, you know, with each and every HP product, we always design these products in these 4 key pillars. And of course, productivity is huge. Everybody's looking for, you know, to of course be effective in how they use these devices. And of course, ensuring you get that fast, efficient, user-friendly environment. And of course, having the ability to use these larger type cartridges. That way, your end users don't have to be going out to buy and purchase cartridges on a more frequent basis, because of course we should be staying home that much more. Of course, security, best in class. You know, we are the ones that, you know, tout with our devices that we have the world's most secure printers in the marketplace. And we'll talk a little bit about that in some coming slides. And of course, usability is very key. We have a very consistent user interface across the board. So from our small devices all the way up to our larger devices, once you've learned one, you've learned them all, which is really good for a consistency standpoint. And of course, sustainability. You know, anytime that HP creates devices and creates how they're shipped to people, you know, packaging is of utmost, and of course, recycling programs for cartridges are very important and top of mind for us. So here's kind of how we look at things. You know, there's a few different kinds of workforce that we see today. One that are completely remote, and with inside of that remote workforce, and again, those that are specifically 100% working from home, you have a few different types of personas. We, you know, have those that are a little bit more mobile, so maybe technicians. And of course, then we have those that specifically just work in the home office, you know, a very light, you know, type of printing, you know, with some flexibility of doing some scanning. And those could be any type of people from, you know, managers to any type of, you know, executive assistants, whatever they may end up being, with some focuses on what they print, like spreadsheets and Excel documents, potentially even HR employees. And of course, then we have those that really run more of a larger office inside of their home. And it could be those that are a marketing strategic company. And again, maybe those that are, you know, self-employed, or maybe even have 1 or 2 individuals that really work out of someone's home. So those could be of use. Now, when you look at, you know, really what they're printing, of course, we look at, you know, these different types of devices that we've recommended for these types of users. You know, those that are mobile, that OfficeJet 250 is a great device because it's light as a feather. You can pick it up and take it with you. It has a battery pack where, of course, you can use it in your car if you really need to. So excellent selections and recommendations here that we can help with, you know, really what you should be looking for to help your employees. Then we also have another type of workforce that is the hybrid workers. So again, they're kind of working from home some days, and then of course also going into the office, but not as frequent. Maybe picking up the mail, you know, maybe doing some light office work, but again, you know, kind of working in both ends of the spectrum. Again, you know, we've kind of bucket them out into different types of personas depending on, you know, their different types of habits that they are doing. So again, could be doing invoices. So maybe somebody who's doing delivery, those types of things. And again, you know, once we get into these home office and back office, you can see how the devices become a little bit larger. Of course, people are looking for, you know, once you kind of get into, you know, having these smaller type devices at home, how do you manage them? So we'll get into talking about how large companies can actually manage these smaller devices at employees' homes. QRX has a really great no-touch secure pull print subscription-based program that is available, and it allows basically people to walk up with a badge and actually, you know, release their type of print job that they have that they may have sent to the device. It helps in many different instances. Because of COVID, we don't want to be, you know, touching that device, and maybe you have users that are a little bit more hesitant in, you know, touching something that maybe somebody else had just recently selected on the front panel. So how to get around that is utilizing these different types of secure print solutions, because of course all you have to do is just basically release it using your badge. You don't have to touch anything. As soon as you swipe, the document automatically comes out of the device itself, really eliminating any type of user interface with the actual product itself. And of course, once you get into setting these types of things up, it gives you many different ease of use in terms of you don't have to worry about setting up drivers on people's laptops. It's something that QRX will come in and actually help you set up and get running in terms of your office environment. We also can maybe also recommend some of these different areas of items that maybe should be considered to help that employee work more effectively and efficiently from home. Different things like displays, and of course adding keyboards onto or into an environment where maybe they just had their laptop before. There's also different types of docking stations, and of course if you look over at that far side of that screen, you can see the HP Mini All-in-One, which is actually a display screen that actually has the component inside of it in terms of it's an all-in-one hard drive. And of course, we also look at the bottom across the spectrum there, adding different selections of printers, really depending on what you need. And of course, QRX will definitely help you with that buying process. Something else that a lot of people forget about is maybe looking at ergonomic chairs, and of course headsets. Those are the two biggest things. And of course nowadays everybody's, you know, doing the Zoom calls, and you know, so these are two key things to maybe help that office worker work from home. Another thing that people kind of forget about is a shredder. And shredders will make sure that any type of printouts that you do from the device itself, if it has any type of sensitive information on it, it is disposed and destructive very effectively with using these shredders. And of course, you know, you want to make sure that you have this type of item inside of a home office if you are dealing with sensitive information. I also just want to direct your attention that QRX also does have an e-store and a website. So they'll be able to help you out. So if you go to QRX.com, you'll be able to go through and take a look at whatever items that you might be able to search for. And again, they will definitely help you with your buying process in terms of whatever you need, from monitors to anything from monitors to the printers themselves. Another thing to also consider with our HP products is, of course, using HP original supplies. And why is that important? Well, there's reliability with our products. So anytime that you're utilizing original supplies, you know you're going to get the quality and the best out of that HP product when you're using original supplies. Another thing, too, is that it also helps with the indoor quality. We know exactly what goes into our products. There, of course, there's many different design standards and, of course, eco standards that we do have to fall into. And with using these original supplies, you stay inside of compliancy with that. And of course, also thinking too, not just the laser supplies, we also have ink as well, which will help with any type of ink products that you might have in your home office. And of course, recycling, big, huge thing. We do have a big recycling program that's in place. The other key thing that is built into our supplies is a chip security. There's their tamper-resistant HP proprietary firmware that's on these cartridges, so that it's basically a printer verification. When it goes into the device, it knows that it should be it's authentic. It can detect if it's slightly different. So again, you know, they're made inside of secure facilities. Okay, so let's get to the meat and potatoes, as they say. And I just want to see if, Kevin, do we have any questions at this point?
No, nothing's come through as of yet.
Okay, great. Okay, so return to workplace. Okay, with HP and with the help of QRX. QRX has some managed print services, and basically what they'll be able to help you with is getting your supplies and getting all the services that you need from home workers. And of course, when they do that, there's a data collection agent that they put onto these devices, and what that allows QRX to do is they allow them to help with the monitoring of these devices when on site. They can have automated supply ordering for you, so that way you don't have to worry about, worrying about cartridges. So, of course, we're so used to, working in a larger office and the printers always having toner. Now we're, controlling it ourselves at home. So you kind of forget about that side of it. So this is where QRX can really help you. They can set up some, some different types of recommendations. As you can see on the bottom here, we have a single function device, which is the HP M404. It's a 40 page per minute printer, single function, and it also has a Wi-Fi component onto it. And the other side of it, we also have a multifunction device. Again, that's another 40 page per minute device, but this one also can do the scan, copy, and fax if required. And again, it also has a Wi-Fi component. So two great options as recommended as the go-to packages for your home-based workers. So to help with working from home and those that are, trying to kind of get back into the workplace, HP's come up with some recommendations and some helpful guides. Again, now during COVID, people are a little bit more hesitant, again, of utilizing a device that's in a common area. that's in an office place environment. Well, we've actually got a document that is recommendations from the CDC, and they do have some sanitization best practices. And of course, one of the main things is working with a solution that's comprised of 30% water and 70% isopropyl alcohol. And again, if you need this document, it's got a lot of great tips and tricks. Please reach out to QRX and they'll be able to provide that to you. Next, we do have something that can really help with alleviating, touching these devices. And it's a really interesting accessory that HP's designed, and it's called the HP Accessibility Assistant. And really what it is, it's a little component that sits on the front panel of the devices, and you can actually talk to it. It's, it's basically you push the on button and you give it a command. You can tell it, I need 5 copies. You can put your document into the document feeder and the device automatically starts up and gives you, 5 copies, even if you wanted them duplexed, even if you wanted them stapled. So you can also have, we have many different command structures that are available. This accessibility assistant also works with those that maybe cannot see the front panel of devices all that well. It has a read back feature on them where it actually will guide a user through the panels of the device. We also look at, ensuring that maybe ordering high yield cartridges is best practice during this time. Again, it will alleviate the amount of interactions that you have with the device. So again, that way you're using it a little bit longer than maybe previously with just regular cartridges. So again, there's a longer time span in between the touch points. So that is something that you could really think about when moving back into the actual office environment. Another thing too is, work with QRX. They'll be able to help customize some quick sets on the front of the panel for you. Again, that way alleviating multiple touch points when going through some of the menu systems within inside of the devices. So if you wanted to do, copying, double-sided stapling, you could actually have all of those keystrokes built into a quick set. And you can have it set to actually show right on the front panel, on the very first panel. And as soon as you touch it, it automatically activates that particular command that you've selected. The other thing that might be of a best practice too is we can also look at how we can help you customize that front panel. So there's different ways of actually having strategic messages that can be displayed on the front panel. So maybe it's, now you have a new, practice to alert your staff members as to, when the device is actually sanitized and how often it's sanitized. And of course, you can have that as a background picture or many different things, but we can, work with QRX and they'll be able to customize what that can look like in your go forward practices when getting back into the actual office. There's some other things that can really help you along the way, and some things like leveraging pull print solutions. So I don't know how many of you know about pull print solutions, but in a nutshell, what they are is the ability to, when you go file print, it sends your print job to either a server or a cloud component and a cloud server, and it resides there until you walk up to the device and release it. So you can release it in many different ways. And if you look on the display, we're actually showing you releasing a secure print using a QR code that's on the outside of the printer with your phone. So guess what? You don't have to worry about touching the device. It's all through what you have in your hands, which is your smartphone. And who doesn't walk around with their smartphone all day long? I know I do. So, you know, it's something that will help you along the way, again, when utilizing devices. And when we talk about pull print solutions, there's many different ones. Like I said, there's ones that can be what we call on-premise, so sending to a print server on site, or we can also leverage those that are in the cloud as well. There's different types of mobile release solutions that we have available, and some of them like HP Roam, which if the device is enabled with this type of feature, when you walk into an environment, they'll actually pop up on your phone and telling you which devices you can walk up and release your job at. So it's a pretty neat, neat solution. We have other different ones, and the latest one that we have added to our roster is HP Advance Mobile Connector, and again, that is more of a cloud-based type solution. We also have something called Smart Device Services, and what that is it's the ability to, you know, HP's created this tool that allows us to really kind of manage the device itself and really triage it, so that if you do have the device going down in any shape and form, QRX's service technicians can actually take a look at it remotely and potentially even fix it remotely. So they utilize through their own practices called MPS Monitor. So they take the Smart Device Services technology and they monitor it remotely. And again, it really helps because, again, during COVID, you know, you don't really want a lot of technicians on site, and a lot of companies today, I'm not sure if you feel this way or not, but a lot are very hesitant on the amount of people that are coming in at any one given time. And this kind of alleviates that stress off of having many different types of people on site at any given time. So we'll talk about what SDS is a little bit more in a few slides. Also too, again, there's ways of really helping, again, use the device. And what another thing is taking a rubber tip stylus and maybe utilizing something like that when you're making selections off the front panel. So that's also an idea. So I don't know how many of you have gone shopping lately and seen those lovely signs on your walk, you know, arrows telling you which direction to go. I mean, before we never really had any type of practices like this in grocery stores, you know, and really anywhere at this point is really having these stickers that are on the ground. So if you need to do something like this, QRX is an authorized reseller of our Design Jet products, and we've just kind of got a few of the selections down on the bottom, and you can see couple of them there. And so sometimes you need to have them for, you know, the social distancing, or, you know, making sure that people are wearing masks before entering into your site. So these are great things that will allow you to print these stickers that go on the floor. Unfortunately, you know, hopefully, well, really, we don't want them to be permanent because, of course, we want COVID to go away. So that's kind of why they're more like a sticker based at this time. So of course, over time there is wear, so you'll have to continue to keep you know, printing these out, and potentially, you know, things you know, surrounding COVID and really, you know, new parameters potentially could come out at any given time. So it just really provides you with the flexibility in order to adapt to a changing environment. So here's a quick peek at some of the vertical solutions. And really kind of when we talk about different verticals in the marketplace today, we're looking at how we can provide you with maybe some ideas and some recommendations to look at depending on where your main business focus is. We're going to talk about a few things just to kind of give you some context in terms of what those bundles are. So we're going to talk about a few items before we kind of get there. So when we looked at creating these recommendations, these bundles for different verticals, of course, we always look at making sure that we have those supplies in there. So the supplies that you need with the product, making sure that you don't have to go out and buy an extra set. You've got something there that's available with you. And of course, adding in some sort of solution that can really help reduce the amount of touch points on the devices, or really make your workers effective in terms of how they use the devices, and potentially, cut down on steps that they need to do that they've been maybe doing already in a day-to-day basis. And lastly, the smart device services with that monitoring at the very end. And again, we'll talk a bit about that, because again, it helps reduce and really helps track what's going on with the devices, and really reduce that that fix rate to getting it right the first time around. So when we look at, before we kind of get into the verticals themselves, there's a few things to kind of also to keep in mind as we move forward. And one of them, of course, is fleet security. So I talked about, how security is, really of utmost important. And if you haven't thought about it now, really today is, your start point. I would definitely start thinking about it now. It's not really kind of if it's ever going to happen to you. The question is now is when. Many people today, don't always kind of have this attitude that it's never going to happen to me, but really, in today's day and age with COVID and people being at home more, and there's a few people out there that are really bored and like to do hacking, this is really something that you kind of have to really keep on top of mind. Making sure that your firmware is up to date on your printers. So again, that's something that everybody kind of goes, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But really, no, there's a reason why firmwares are created. And the reason why they're created is so that any type of change and fluctuation, so maybe somebody's come out with a new virus or whatever, malware or something like that, the firmware is there to help protect you. And that's only just kind of like the starting point of it, is that having fleet viewpoint from end to end is very important. So we have many different tools out there. Some people are using what we call HP Web JetAdvantage, which allows us to really kind of see the fleet of your devices. You can really kind of organize them to what you have in each building to what you have on each floor. You can also group devices by model type. So there's many different things that the Web JetAdvantage can do, but that push across the board for firmware is very important, and Web JetAdvantage is a free tool that we offer. Secondly, we have another tool called HP JetAdvantage Security Manager. So Security Manager is a very key component. Not only is it that you lock it down with a password, but you also have to have something to kind of keep monitoring the security practices that you have in place inside of your work environment. And Security Manager is that tool that will do that for you. A lot of people will say, you know what, I have a firewall, I'm good, I don't need anything else. But this Security Manager kind of really kicks it up and takes it to the next step. What if a technician came in and worked on a device and had to replace a hard drive? Do you know if, what was actually reset back up on that device? Sometimes no, because a lot of the times it's just fixed, it's one and done. And of course, it's off and running, and away you go and you're operating. And you really won't know until that time where it happens, where somebody actually finds that device that really wasn't locked down and begins to get into your environment. So Security Manager works with something that we have on our devices, and it's called Instant On. And once the HP printer hits your network, it basically announces itself and more or less says, I'm here, I'm a new guy. And what Security Manager does is it actually goes and applies immediately the security policy that you've created inside of this tool. so that therefore it does this automatically. Your IT folks don't have to worry about managing these devices one-on-one. Once they create what they want that security policy to look like, and basically it's kind of like a template, and once they've created this, they push it, it gets pushed out across the network, and again, they don't have to worry about it. With the instant on, it kind of keeps monitoring itself. And again, built-in security inside of these devices is utmost important. And you know, the security manager can really reduce the amount of cost as you are maintaining a network. There are companies out there that also have the Microsoft System Center Configuration Manager, so what we call Microsoft SCCM. And some people are running that already. Well, we do have plugins that can also integrate into that as well, with to really help strengthen your security outlook. And of course, Security Manager can also help with auditing practices as well. And of course, we also have the integration in with what we call SIM tools. And so they're basically incident detection monitoring tools, and they're either called ArcSight, McAfee, Splunk, IBM QRadar. So, and basically what these do is they do real-time monitoring. So just a deeper dive on Security Manager, and the whole idea behind it is these devices, when they're shipped on site, they have over 250 security items on the devices. And why we have so many is because you have to have the ability to be flexible in terms of every environment. We don't know what you're running in terms of back-end solutions, and what this will allow you to do is either enable or disable protocols, ports, whatever it may end up being. And once you've kind of figured out what you want your security policy to look like, it has the ability then to create that and save it, add your devices. You can assess the HP devices across the network, so you can actually even see, maybe you haven't even thought about this before and you do have HP devices already on site. There can be an assessment that can be done for you to check to see, have you forgotten things? Because it's very easy to do that. And once that assessment takes place, then it comes up with remediation practices as to how to fix those, high risk environments. And of course, allows you to renew, I don't know if people know about renew certificates on the devices, but you can also do that. And as well as it does this constantly. So it's always doing this. So it's a very way to strengthen compliancy when being audited. And of course, streamlining, IT practices, security practices inside of every environment. So a smart device services, we've been talking about this. So SDS is what we call it in HP. And what it does is it basically takes the information from the device and how it's operating. So we have many different sensors inside of these devices, and they're getting more complex as we know it today. And things like, elevated temperatures inside of it, or, really anything that it monitors how the device is running. And if it sees something and kind of comparatively, looks at it as it relates to really, what we have already for data on how this device should be operating, it creates, predictive analytics and potentially even maintenance calls that could be done on the device, so that therefore you don't have to worry about the device going down at that most inconvenient time. QRX has their NPS monitor tool, which basically works with SDS, and they are able to really kind of manage and assess what's going on with your fleet. The more sensors we have, the more idea that we know what's going on with these devices, and the higher ability to actually fix these devices more remotely. So great, makes them a really good partner with you in terms of creating the most uptime with the devices. And this is just basically kind of a quick overview as to, kind of what they can see. They can see how many devices that you have on site, and if if you need to have anything done to it, if there's any alerts or whatever, it will show you. And so again, they're doing this proactively, and they're going to be monitoring your devices, your supplies, and troubleshooting it to the nth degree. So now that you know about that, let's look at these verticals in terms of, really what can we put together for you in terms of a best type of solution to really help with this vertical market. So in a legal market, if this is your business focus, we have integration with some legal software like Clio. We know that it's very important that you're dealing with sensitive information. So we want to make sure that, when you are working with some of these back-end software solutions, that you can store the information very quickly. And of course, make sure that you're, staying in compliance with regulations. And of course, making sure that you don't have that device going, down at that most inconvenient time. And so here's kind of what we look at in creating this bundle. So of course it could be your device. It could really be anything, either black and white or color, and either a single function or a multifunction device. So really could be quite flexible there for you. Of course, adding in supplies. And then here's something we haven't really talked about yet. So we talked about, integrating into some other back-end solutions, and we have something called HP WorkPath apps. And they are apps that we've designed, and we have a huge partner community of apps that we have to date. And we basically integrate with a lot of solutions that are out there, some software solutions, depending on which vertical you're in. And basically what it does is it transforms the MFP, and in this particular case, into a legal MFP. And Clio and or iManage are two legal solutions that are used quite widely. And it really allows them, the user, whoever is utilizing the device, to really convert paper into a digitized format very quickly and simply, and really kind of gets office workers back to doing what they should be doing, rather than wasting a lot of time with uploading files and where do I put this and what file server do I put it on. So the flexibility to get this device to connect to many different solutions is something that we really pride ourselves in. And again, it's just the whole idea behind it is just to enhance the user experience and really reduce the amount of effort it takes to do one's job. So Clio is something that we do have that is an iManage that are great for the legal environment. When we look at education, of course, there's a few things that come to mind. Obviously, anytime that you're dealing in this type of environment, you could be a Montessori school, if that's, again, your business focus. Really, you're looking to really be cost effective in terms of how you're doing your own business. So we want to make sure that we're there with the proper recommendations. And of course, making sure that, you've got the right device in the right environment. And really, studies have shown that when you do introduce color into a learning environment, it really emphasizes and really helps with the impact of that learning experience for the students. So that is always something that we kind of always suggest for this type of best practice with inside of the education vertical. And again, so here's kind of what it would look like. So again, depending on which device you choose. Now in this case here, we also suggest something called a page white, not just laser, but page white is our ink technology that we do have. It's a pigmented ink that's on the devices. It allows us to really help you control those costs, to introduce color at a really affordable price. So again, really great. Reach out to QRX and talk about page white. It's a really great product for you as a different alternative to a laser product. And when, again, we look at, making these devices more flexible and more efficient, combining them in with a WorkPath connector, And it could be anywhere from, you know, Google Drive to SharePoint to OneDrive to Dropbox. So there's many different that we have. This is just, you know, given just a couple of an example. But really in the education market, I don't know if you guys have experienced this yet with your kids, but, you know, the education market really kind of likes those Chromebooks. So anything with Google Drive is a huge helper. So we can actually integrate into that, and the students can actually even walk up to the devices. And I actually have mine connected at home, and my son can actually walk up and go onto his Google Drive and print out his documents for home. So it's quite an interesting way to make work efficient. And of course, you know, you can also add on anything like a card reader. So again, that, you know, for authentication purposes, you can, you know, badge into that device. And again, you know, look at, you know, utilizing it from a more secure perspective if it's in a larger environment. The healthcare, this could be anywhere from doctor's offices, dentist's office, you know, medical imaging, whatever it may end up being. You know, we've got products that can really kind of help you. And again, working with QRX, they can help make some of these recommendations for you. Again, usually what we see is security is top of mind because, of course, sensitive information, you know, making sure that you're staying in compliance with any regulations. And of course, you know, connecting with medical systems like DICOM. And so I don't know how many know, but DICOM is a medical imaging, and so of course a transfer of x-rays. And so we do have connectors that actually you can print out some of those medical images. And again, it really kind of helps with, you know, getting that information to the doctor quickly and efficiently. And when we look at what DICOM is just an example. If you have a DICOM machine, and again, that's for the x-rays, it can cost anywhere about $5 per printout. But when you utilize an HP product with the connector into DICOM, well, guess what? That cost drops significantly. So again, it's a great interface into the healthcare environment. And again, you know, utilizing Security Manager that we talked before with some sort of pull print solution, that's a great little bundle that, again, you can work with QRX to get you the right fit. And lastly, our last vertical that we're talking about before this presentation is over is the financial bundle. And so really this is, you know, anybody that, you know, deals inside of the banking industry. You know, managing the print is very important. Controlling costs is very important. And of course, security, again, very, very important. So in this kind of environment, when you look at these banking and mortgage institutions, you know, very highly regulated with dealing with a lot of personal information. So having Security Manager in this bundle here is something that we feel is of importance. And of course, having some type of pull print solution, because of course, you know, when you talk about security, it's not just one thing, it's many things. It's a layered approach that you really have to consider. It's not just turning on, you know, flicking a switch and making sure that the password's on that device. There's many different things behind the scenes to ensure that your device is really locked down and locked down properly. So again, you know, and you can also think about too, those that are even on the accounting side of the world, you know, integration even with QuickBooks or Sage or Concur. Those are great, you know, connections with some of our WorkPath apps that we have as well, even on the accounting side of the board. So again, really help utilize the less touch points on the device, you know, again, really kind of making sure that we're giving and providing you with some ideas that you could look at as in terms with these bundles that we're talking about today. So that's the presentation today. I don't know what we have in terms of questions. I don't know if there is any questions on here. I think Kevin's been pretty good. I don't know, Kevin, if you want to come on off mute and if there's anything else.
Hey, Denise, thanks. No, there wasn't any real questions directed towards kind of any slides in particular, so I managed to kind of handle them privately in answering those.
Great. Great, yeah, and what I say is, just reach out to QRX. They're here to help you guys, and they're here to, provide the best recommendations. They want to make sure that, they're putting, the right HP device in the right place with the right configuration, and that's what they're here to do. With that, I will turn it back over to Tamara and Kevin.
Well, thank you guys again for joining us. We hope that this webinar was very informative to you. Again, there is a survey at the end of the webinar, so please, if you guys could fill that out for us, give us some feedback on what you liked and what you didn't like and what we can do better for next time. We really appreciate it. Thank you guys again for taking the time out of your day and listening to our presentation, and we hope to see you guys all soon in our future webinars. Thank you.